Yeah, he was one of those console and mobile players, a console player who is able to play incredibly well. Actually, during, I believe it was the last week or maybe during the grand finals. I need to go back and double check what his placement was. But in a fight now with Zisray, and looks like Zisray is actually going to back off as Slow is going to pinch up and try and get an ambush going here. It'll be interesting to see if he commits to this fight, particularly after getting lasered, but it looks like he is just going full send on him. Zisray down to 65 HP, gets knocked in, pump, swap, and gets taken out. RZ Slow picks up the 4 points there, 12 HP left to his name, but plenty to top back up. However, World Cup qualified player Lenouf trying to fly right at him. RZ Slow, can he rep for the console gang? What does he have to offer with only that gray tactical shotgun if he gets in a close range battle baller?
I don't know. Lenouf is not somebody I want to be going up against, but he seems to have actually backed off. He ramped him to start, but realized the height was going to be too much of a difficult thing to overcome, so that will go to a bit of a pause. Don't be confused. It might say Shadow Henchman, but this is definitely a player right now, as he's trying to build away from Yahtzee, who's just getting so aggressive on top of him outside of Pleasant Park. And they do have the materials to make this fight last. He's going to try to pressure into the box, but it doesn't look like either of them are going to take any opportunities given. Yahtzee trying to find that, and he does, and finishes off in great fashion. Of just one clean pump shot will make it work, and he gets the loot from what appears to be the Shadow Henchman, but is the player who I think must have made it either out of the Shark with some loot or out of Pleasant Park itself.
Yeah, and Yahtzee going to be the benefactor of it. And yes, just to clarify, RZ Slow was the overall console and mobile track winner for Europe on his side with his duo Lazen. So good little performance from him there, able to pick that one up, as we do have the top 75 as well. So one placement point going through. This is how we look over. Rayos and Ro boxed up on top of each other, but you also have Alex Cod heading over towards Benji 4K and 78 Rotary hanging off in the background. So everyone kind of chilling, and you talking about the point totals, it does look like we are grabbing another one of those early games. So I'm not going to see people who are chained off in the other one. We'll catch somebody else's kind of first full game going through here. And honestly, I'm okay with that. I really want to see kind of how everyone plays it out, and they're able to establish these games early on.
Yeah, 100%. We get to see how essentially the leaderboard that we look at first is shaped from the first performances. I think you'll see Nate and Fremont up there. Let's find out who else. Rayos, who's got one elimination, and he did get a placement point from the 75th place. Next one will be at 50, but those aren't too impactful in the grand scheme of things. Oh no. Starts things off as he does start to push up against him with a self RPG, which was meant to actually pressure him off, but now the guy knows there's blood in the water, and he's going to go for it, but one pump shot, then try to take a small shield, which means number one, he doesn't have max, and he doesn't have a big pot to actually make it max, but that time that he gained, Rayos right now, is going to be able to make him disengage a little bit, but he opts to go back after this, and I'm wondering if that's actually the right decision here.
I'm wondering a whole lot about this fight, but Rayos trying to go for the big pump shots in a row, not quite really giving him the angles, but also not quite fully defending himself. And this is, again, we talk about awkward situations and getting bogged down in fights. You look in that bottom right-hand corner, we're just outside Salty Springs. There's a lot of players nearby, and they are making a lot of noise. And Ro does not have a lot of builds against the RPG. Only 2 builds left. He's going to have to commit to this fight here shortly. That's the last 2 builds. Double edits down. First shot comes through, and Ro able to clean it up, but it looks like somebody else is immediately trying to... Nope. Turned away right away. It was that little brown triangle in the corner. Took some shots over and said, no, looks like he resolved that one. Pops the 2 minis, and he's going to be in an okay spot too. We have our top 70, so a little bit less dense than the last lobby. People playing a little more aggro, a little more loose this game. As the circle, we do hear that storm go off, and people are going to be forced in towards Salty Springs.
There's a number of people there already. Fights have gotten taken in that spots. Every single house also occupied. A nice heavy snipe. Die Ketre, and that's the difficult. That's the thing. In these lobbies, you cannot stay still for any brief moment. And he's actually going to try to crank for this height, but there's another player who realized that that snipe went through. He's going to go down and into it. He grabs the wall, almost gets the cone. This player goes for it. Ends up trading, but now he has no control over the walls, and Ro is going to easily be able to have the initiative in that one. And takes it again, but loses all the spoils that he hoped to get and gain the momentum out of the first fight that he won. But there is 2 loot piles here, so at least material should be okay for him.
Yeah, he desperately needs to get the refresher, as now we hop on board to Aragonis. Player who's been around the competitive scene since ever. Literally ever, has been a part of almost every single competitive Fortnite event now, but on the outside of the zone in a nice little 1v1, 232 tags coming on the shield, but immediately gets ramped over. He's going to look to try and knock it down, saying, nope, I don't have the positional advantage here. Has plenty of floppers, will knock the player down. No fall damage coming through as he continues to work around. You can see his crosshair placement, just trying to line up where that player wants to peek out every single time. Good edits, falling down with attack. This player sticking to the SMG, and just brilliantly played from Aragonis.
And that was onto Maggle, who has been on the rise in terms of performances throughout all the FNCSs. Started off in squads very, very well, achieving the grand finals, and then moving into duos and performing well there as well. Aragonis, I don't think has actually made a grand finals. I don't think he was one of the invited players either, so he must have made it, even though he's got that history, deep history in competitive Fortnite. I think he's one of the open qualified players today. Taking out Maggle, one of the probably the best or better controller players in EU.
I was about to say, don't you dare say best there. EU has a lot of really, really, really good controller players.
One of the best. I always qualify.
No, I will definitely give you that, but just right away, immediately, I would say Lecce, Wolfie, CRR are all probably one notch above for me.
100%. But he has proven himself to get better and better. I mean, in the squad's performances, I think he was one of the better performing outside of Wolfies, who obviously plays second with Benji and Mongrel and Nate. But outside of that, I don't think there was crazy amounts of controller players up towards the top. I think even CRR was outplaced by Maggle. I think today and these tournaments, the solo portion will change things because CRR is just so good in those. Same with Lecce, same with Wolfies. Lecce obviously had that stunning performance to qualify for World Cup.
And now you can see Rax just sneaky moving through, has that silent sniper as well. Looking to get a shot as, again, finds it, 95 to the body, 31 tagged up right after, but he's right on the edge of the safe zone. If he goes, he has to commit and he has to resolve this fight or at least cover himself right away. Trying to force himself into the box with the phase through, doesn't get the wall, gets the wall the second time, doesn't have the stair, cone gets re-edited back in, and a good push. Glock Martin going down. Well done from Wave Rax there. Gets a very much so needed reset and a really key and uncontested elim with so many players around him, but some kind of hard sightlines, so kind of understandable.
And good positioning too, actually, outside of weeping, but he can get back up on this mountain if it does stay in the zone. But also the rotation down off of the hill will be fairly easy for him too. And something to note there is that is why box fighting is so prominent these days, is that you don't get contested as much. If you're down low, if you're down in brick or metal, players are just going to opt not to shoot at it because there's not many opportunities to get in. And for you inside the box, you have that safety, so you can go full aggressive if your boxes are connected.
And full aggressive is what a lot of these players are looking for. Consoleer on the side being chosen. You don't want to be selected by the rest of the lobby as the storm is going to force him in, and that is the freest of free eliminations for Castry. Aiming down sights, hits the shot. Player standing still, desperately trying to get out of the storm. Not quite going to get it as we close in on that second placement point threshold. 59 players left in the lobby, and still a decent amount of time to go. Not quite into half and half yet. We're in fourth storm zone. As you can see, Castro getting some good shots onto Eric, who is already down at 150, so shields should be mostly broken, if not full broken. Pushing into the box, good job with the SMG face. Great job to take the wall with the attack shotgun and Castery, showing that, hey, not just an open player, won a week of FNCS and duos, I can do it solo as well, and honestly, he's looked really, really, really good.
That he has. And that's the thing right there. Eric on the backside of that, the aggressiveness out of Castery. He messed up one edit, and that causes him not to be able to get out of the box as Castery takes the wall. And that's the difference there. In surviving, getting some more placement points, getting towards the end game, and not, especially with a player of Castery's caliber pushing in.
And you know once he's on the wall, he's going. Like, in no situation in EU will a player box themselves on your wall and then be like, you know what, I'm done with this fight, I'm gonna leave. Right? Like, as we see the Storm Surge special go over, they're all gonna look for aggression, and we'll see who knows how to play in this type of situation because only 5 players need to go down, but immediately everyone gets hyper-aggressive, and the warning itself almost as good as Storm Surge as Edison picks up KPZ. And more AR shots are going as everyone looking for tags. You have Dementos, the long-standing veteran of the Fortnite competitive scene, hanging out in the bottom, the middle of the stack right now. No elims yet, but does have the 5 placement points, so this will be his second match coming through. And you can see he's looking to find whatever tags he can, but he is sitting above the threshold right now, so he should be chilling.
He should. And I think more importantly out of anything, he's looking for who is possibly getting ready to place a launch pad. He's looking for who is near him, and can he actually find the rotation path in all the worst case scenarios. We'll see if any of those actually unfold or if he's going to be able to sit pretty for this next zone. And this is what he's doing right now. He's actually expanding out, not only further into zone in case this does get focused, but in case he needs to use that launch pad, and he will most likely have to unless he can pressure one out of the players near and around him.
He'll also have to break that tree because you don't want to get involved with any shots around that. Everyone knows how the tree in the bushes will eat those bullets. But he's trying to get up in the cone and make a quick little ambush. However, pretty sure that player knows he's there. And in fact, I'm positive he knows, but I have no idea what you're doing. As Dementos gets a free elim and we have our top 50% of the lobby has gone down. We're into the half and half, and now this is where things get interesting, Bala. Taki putting some shots down the tree is about to fall as Nekeba trading shots on the bottom side as Serenity J-Guy does get taken out, and you can expect to see people dropping like flies here soon as the rotation starts out. Edison gonna wall himself off. Here's the launch pad. 1, 2, 3 going for that little short launch, which means a lot of players are gonna end up in the same spot. But Edison gets out by the hair on his chinny chin or the multicolored hair on his head. 7 HP, but enough shields. However, no white heals. And he's still outside of the zone, which means he's desperately looking back and trying to find a pick on somebody rotating late. But there's only one target there. Everyone else is in zone, and he just happened to get it. It was Larry's, another one of the console MOBA players who did get taken out there. The week 3 winner going down. As Tamir also rotating into the zone. Snazy on the lowest ground. Coolest Carrot, 999. The player formerly known as 4E Clutch, now fully embracing it, and he's the one holding the drum gun ball.
That he is, and that's one of the reasons why he did so well in the open qualifiers, at least on that day 1. And we talked to him, it was a huge part of his success. And we'll see. It is going back towards the agency. He's basically been able to chill, hopefully, or possibly for the entire game. There's a player on the other side of the box, and that is never what you want to end up doing, is getting right next to 2 different players and having one aggress you while the other one is like, hold on, this is a free opportunity. He gets it, he gets the materials, not necessarily the loot. He gets right out.
Also immediately going to pop that big pot there, sitting on the 3, knowing he won't necessarily have 5 free seconds later, so he'll take the 25. You hear all the launch pads come out as we have Storm Surge again. 7 players need to go down. And Carrot is going to begin his tunnel. Wall and then ramp above with the standard triangle. And now he's going to look back to zone. Not necessarily finding anything, but a great job putting the... Oh my god! puts the ramp down to force the player up into the cone, edits it back down. Brilliantly played from Coolest Carrot. However, walks directly into a player. We will catch the update there as he makes the drum gun sing. Bop, 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 bop. Wow. Also hits the tack shot into a back-to-back, and then a short launch. Not sure if intentional, but it works out fantastically for him. 3 straight elims and almost into the top 25 for Coolest Carrot on a great run.
This is massive for Coolest Carrot. He's making everybody pay, but finally Rexu takes him out. But a magical performance there. A quick 5 elims in a row, essentially. And we're now on to Castry. Luki's still up in this game. Versa as well. RZ Slow, who you pointed out, just took out Hawkers. So a lot of big names still up. Castry now trying to take over this tunnel, essentially, and pressure now. He's got it all to himself. The low ground right above the water. A decent spot to stick, and he does find a fish in the box, and then another 200 turns around and closes it out. Castry is a monster, and now he's on to 7 eliminations and has Brutus's drum gun, gets another one onto row. This is 2 players in a row that we're seeing get multiple strings of eliminations back to back to back, and Castry going forward more with the piece control. He faces in, and another one. That was Versa. He's up to 9 now.
And we have our top 10. Remember, every single placement here, top 10 is where you get more placements going through. RZ Slow takes out Dementos on the high ground, repping for the controller gang on the console. Can he go through? But Castry making the flopper play and wants to go for height late. However, super conscious of it is that high ground player as Lookie takes down Aragonis. Castry putting Brutus's minigun to good work here, but he needs to start working back towards the zone as we get the wide of the shot. You have Slow, Rotary, Luki on the bottom. Castry trying to get a piece of that with the minigun as Slow picks up Rotary again. Slow making a claim for it, but Castry says, calm down. This is my game. 10 elims for him, and he's going to dip into the storm again with one more flopper. Has the slurpfish and recognizes everyone has to be out of builds. They all be in. Drop on him, and Nikeva picks him up. Sinji picks up Snazy as well. This is Nikeva's match to lose, as everyone else are literally fish in a barrel. You can't build anywhere else. Desperately trying to connect. 6 rockets. Pump. I mean, this only ends one way, Bala. There's no way.
That it does. There's no way to recover it. You're all the way down in the water, and there's almost nothing to connect to, although he breaks himself out. But the other player's down, stuck underneath that in the water, and Nikeva has a couple builds to still reconnect. I'm wondering if there's much left at all down below, and there's not. The RPG onto the ramps. It was the last opportunity to try to get one shot off to make it work, but it's not going to happen, and Nikeva wins the game with 5 eliminations, but there was some massive other plays in that game, specifically from Coolest Carrot, who had one of the nastiest 4 eliminations in a row. That first one with the ramp and the cone. And then also our friend Castry dominating in that one. That was ridiculous, the ways that he was following up. He looked like Benji in that game, and for good reason. He might be one of the better players out of this entire competition.
Dude, you'll love to see it. A great game number 2 in week number 1. Gentlemen, I want to get your thoughts on what we witnessed. Obviously, like you said, Bala, having Clutch, aka Coolest Carrot, coming out and having a standout performance. That's the kind of stuff you want to see.
That's impressive. Honestly, it looks like we left him speechless as we swap on over to the standings and we take a look. We have Grizzy, bad sniper, somebody who did qualify for the World Cup, played at DreamHack, been around the scene for a while, sitting up top there, 8 elims and a victory royale going through. 78 Rotary, who we just saw as well in the last match, sitting on 5 elims and 67 points going through. So really well played for these guys so far. Trying to stick a little bit back here. You can see some other names we recognize on there. Familiar, strong solo players in Nate, Crew, Fremont, Castry, and Tohaj on that second page. And honestly, this is really tight right now. You see that second page, 20th to 11th, is separated by 3 points. Like,
yeah.
Woo!
That's definitely, I mean, the case for a lot of these guys. That was ridiculous. And the point spread will just get wider as we get more games, because I'm pretty sure that this is only the first game for most of these players that we're looking at right now. So, I mean, you see players like Luki, who won that first game. Nate's in there as well. You see the amount of eliminations that they got in that win. This makes it a potential for them to not only do it again, but we get a good idea of what a good game looks like from them.
So now, what do you think we should expect going forward? You know, are we going to see players turn it up a notch? Because now, as those points value increase, we're going to start seeing people kind of break away from the rest of the group. So what do you think we can expect?
Well, as people tend to break away, others will continue to kind of rise up as they churn through some of the players who maybe necessarily aren't having as good of a day. What I want to keep an eye on, though, is where that top line for the top 300 ends up being for after day 1, so we can kind of have an idea of what day 2 will look like tomorrow. But then also, who are the people who we should start looking over the course of this whole thing? Who do we think is going to win in Europe? Who are the people we should be keeping an eye on as some of the best solo players? And as we've already called out, Castery has been playing really, really, really well. He played really well last week and he kind of got a warm up. We wanted to see if it would transition. So far, it's transitioned. I'm going to call out RZ Slow. I'm going to give him a shout out. Everyone was like, hey, I don't know how well these console and mobile guys end up doing. This dude just straight flew, took the fight, and then ended up, I think, placing 6th right there or 5th right there. So
I hate to shout out to him now, but we got to go to break apparently. We'll be back with more Fortnite action after this. Stay tuned, Fortnite fam. Fortnite fam, to the FNCS Invitational. I'm your host Zeke, and joining us for this broadcast, we've got Monster D-Face, and new, first time, we've got Sancho West. Got him. Dude, thank you guys so much for coming on. Can't wait to get into the first set of games. What do you guys think? Quick thoughts, Monster D-Face.
Dude, these games are going what I thought, or the way that I thought they were. Before this whole kind of tournament kicked off, we set the stakes a little bit. We thought maybe the lobbies are going to be light. On the other hand, I was like, this might be a little bit of a tight kind of competition, and it has been like that so far. Could have been early game jitters, but this here will determine the pace of the rest of the tournament. So I'm excited. Things have been good, though.
Dope. Let's hear from Sancho. Quick thoughts.
I mean, we're essentially in the meat of the sandwich of all the games here. Monster said it best. We're about to get into the juiciness of it all. And I have to kind of piggyback on what Baller mentioned, that the grappler is becoming a big factor in these in-games, considering that it is a major utility device. So I cannot wait to see how it's used in the rest of these games.
Man, well, gentlemen, we don't have to wait that much longer. Now, very quickly, in case you guys didn't tune in, yesterday, Monster D-Face and Sancho both participated in casted the collegiate first ever official championship. So congratulations to Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty, the winners of our first official U.S. College Championship. Now, if you guys at home are interested in playing in next season, head on over to playversus.com/college to sign on up. Do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, I can jump on that for sure. First off, it was Aussie and Sancho that casted. I was helping, obviously put everything together. And I mean, Sancho could talk to the credibility of how good those games were. And I mean, guys, sign up. Like, it was really good, wasn't it, Sancho?
Absolutely, man. The lobbies were stacked, and it was just insane to see the performance of Fuzzy Pickle and Steve McSweaty. I mean, yes, that was a duos competition, but those two had a lot of solo clutch moments in a stacked lobby, so it's going to be interesting to see how they perform today in the NA East later on today.
Oh, man, guys, I'm so amped. I can't wait. I hope we see more, like, super pack late game circles. I want to see more mythic weapons in play. I want to see people contesting mythic POIs. That's what I want to see. Because, even Monster, we saw people like Benji just get bopped earlier on in game number 1. That's pretty crazy. I mean, the skill gap here is pretty small.
I mean, think about it. This is the invite-only kind of basis, right? As outside of those that qualified, you are going against some really amazing players. I think the respect factor had to be earned, and it was earned at that point from Benji. So we haven't got to see the rest of the pace, but we will coming into these rests.
That's right. Well, don't have to wait too much longer. The battle bus is heading on toward the island. So let's get into game number 3 with Monster D-Face and Sancho West.
Thank you so very much, Zeke. And here we are. The battle bus is underway. We're jumping into games 3 right now here for the EU region. This is the actual official week 1 opener. The invite, like we said, Sancho coming in. These are big names. The Vic here from EU, known to play this area. Like, we just came out of a duo season. Now we're into a solo season. Naturally, we're going to see players that run these areas now playing under a solo setting. So we don't know who's going to be the greatest of the great, right?
Well, that's the most interesting thing. I mean, solos, as you can see, a lot of the places around the map are now being contested. Even though they're not major POIs or they're not a safe house, you're going to find a player in a random place, and you have to be prepared for that. As you see right here, the Vic sees someone right in the sights, going to take a couple of hits, knocks off that henchman, and he gets right in there, Mix, and gets the early elim. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, you think normally, like, hey, man, I could walk around freely around these swamps, and before you know it, bop, you get right sit back to the lobby.
And that was kind of interesting. I think that player was hoarding some of the heals there because he did not have any shield on. Just trying to get his quick loot path on, and all of a sudden gets taken out. But here's Jam's side. We saw Nikeva in the previous game, in the previous run, making it all the way through here. Someone who had quite a quiet, recent competitive standing. It's been a while since he's been up in the limelight here, but now all of a sudden finding his footing in the solo world. Jamside, someone who has been around for such a long time here, the earliest days of Fortnite competitive, still competing. A little bit of a fight here, Sancho.
Yeah, I mean, using that purple pistol, I mean, they doing some great kind of poking and prodding, looking for a way in, doing his best,
trying to get that high ground retake in there, does get a good hit on the whites, and bam! Comes right across, even with that common tack. Gets the elim right there. And I think we're going to expect some big things from Nikeva. I mean, the performance in that other round did really well in that second match we had on the broadcast, and no doubt well on his way to most likely qualifying to the second week here with 57 points in this outset.
Yeah, and we are under a new placement format, guys. You see the little kind of slide in there that shows you how placement gets divvied out, how much each elimination are worth. Things are staggered a little differently here. Not that it has correlated to too much of a difference as far as the way the playstyles work, at least from what we've gathered so far from the opening week. But this is a different week. This is a different caliber of player. The information that we gather after this is going to be very, very crucial. Here's Styler, the player that took out Benji in the previous running, and this is what I mean by caliber of player. You have to respect him. Styler walks into the box and takes care of Blazified without a single issue there.
And you gotta feel confident knowing that you took out someone like Benji, right? You having that right out the gate sets up the rest of your run, and no doubt Styler is styling right now, coming from those qualifiers, here to make a name for himself. Here on board with Birch, doesn't have a great kit here, no doubt wishing that he had a little bit stronger weapons, but trying to use the fundamentals of box fighting that we see here at Monster, protecting himself and proking and prodding, looking for piece control. Doesn't have it above here, so he has to be very careful. It's a very interesting fight. This is what I'm talking about. These are the fights that break out in early game now that there's so much cover to land, as Russian Swaggy putting some big hits from above. He's going to make the other player retreat just a little bit. They're both equal in the weapons here, Monster, so it all comes down to who gets piece control and who finds that big hit that they're looking for.
Yeah, Swaggy is leading the push right now. He also has the height easy for him right there. He's going to find a little shot that he needs to connect there. Birch is out the game. Birch didn't have too much going on there. It seems like this back end kind of area, this is his biggest problem here. Swaggy might have also been having a rough time early on, so that could be a little bit of a redemption arc for Swaggy. He only had 8 points. Birch had just about 20 or so. Remember, we're jumping in with the games. They're just kind of underway. Each day matters so much, right? They have 20 games to perform. But regardless of what, you don't know what lobby you're going to get in, right? Like, they could just be going toe-to-toe round after round, and then next thing you know, your other game could be empty on your drop spot, and things can suddenly look different. Yaxa's going to connect here with the good shot, though.
Oh, dude, absolutely. We were talking about toe-to-toe, and he gets the connect on the shin right there. The heavy coming in the big factor, and that's a two-piece right there for Yaksu. Doing some nice work, and you mentioned it before.
Lately, I've been thinking.
Monster, the elims racking up 4 points apiece, so that's an 8 points right there. Even though a slow start for him in this opening day one, this is going to be a great way to catapult himself up the placement, as we have this nice little standoff here. Mr. Savage hanging out in the vent, being a sneaky spy out here in Deadpool's yacht.
Yeah, this is his drop spot. He played this with Drop in the duos FNC. They played relatively well coming through their initial rounding. Early closing out, probably where they would have liked towards the tail end, but still a decent performance nonetheless. We're talking, you know, duo pros, right? Like Mr. Savage became top 15 in the most recent competition. It's nothing to scoff over. You still have to respect it. So still on his A game here. Mr. Savage also one of the most notable champions of. I mean, he took the Dream Hack tournament by storm. He lost the Big C, right? The America's tournament, and then to show up half of their so competition for the limited amount of competitions as of late, you that we know we can lean in to kind of look out for.
You know, that's what it's talking about, man. I mean, Ninja's mentioned it before in the past, is when you're dedicated, you know, you're taking your gear across country, you know, to go to the land for little, and knowing that Mr. Savage, as you said, go all the way across the pond, all the way to Anaheim, California, right next door to Disneyland, to put on a show at DreamHack, no doubt. But he's still here, he has to, you know, step up, and that's what's really cool about the Fortnite Invitational right here, is that you still have to step up. You have to make a name for yourself, or you have to solidify your reputation.
And I want to like kind of analyze the situation for everyone at home. Guys, Jacobs has the Volt card, and Savage is not giving it up for free. This could be mind tactics. This could be strategy here. He is in the vent right now. Very, very cheeky spot here. Notice that he's trying to bait out this play here. And you know, Jacob understands that, right? They're in somewhat of a standoff here. Savage is well equipped to stay in the zone for much longer periods of time. This is do or die moment right here for Jacob because he needs the Volt more than